In our podcast today, we will cover the most challenging forensic investigations, common mistakes while conducting forensic investigations, ethical considerations, and the future of forensic accounting. Our speaker is CA Dr. Durgesh Pandey. Dr. Pandey is a chartered accountant and a doctorate in forensic accounting from the prestigious National Forensic Sciences University, India, an institute of national importance under the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India. Having more than 1.5 decades of experience in advising clients in various areas, his exclusive practice is in the domain of forensic investigation of financial crime and dispute resolution. Dr. Pandey has conducted fraud examinations in multiple countries and conducted investigations on around 200 plus cases. His appointments are mostly by law enforcement agencies for prosecution. Dr. Pandey has conducted training for various officers in the Indian Administrative Service, Enforcement Directorate, and police officers of more than 35 plus countries on investigating financial crime. Dr. Pandey was part of the expert group for developing the forensic accounting and investigation standards and implementation guides recently issued by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. In addition to his practical work, Durgesh Pandey is an avid writer and regularly publishes papers in international journals. His book, Forensic Foresight, Case-Based Perspective on Forensic Accounting Standards, chronicles his expertise in investigations. A warm welcome, Durgesh, to the Fraudopedia podcast. Let me start off with, given your extensive experience in conducting forensic investigations, what has been the most challenging investigation that you've undertaken so far?
So, Vidya, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me over on your podcast. And then I've seen you are doing some excellent work. I answer what has been the most challenging investigation. I would not be doing justice if I name a single case, because most of these cases, they come with their own set of challenges. Each of them have their own nuances. Like if I'll tell you one of the earliest cases in my career, it was not the earliest, but one of the earlier cases which I did, it was around what, $1.5 billion. By then times, it would be around what, 7,000, 8,000 crores, having millions of depositors. So the problem with such a huge case is that we get 10 boxes of files. We really don't know where to start, how to start, and it's all so very clumsy. So at those times, breaking the case into parts, developing a hypothesis, writing down the objective, all these things helps to manage things, to know where to focus, where should we direct the energy and the resources. All these cases. And as you know, I have an experience of working with law enforcement agencies. In fact, I work a lot with law enforcement agencies. In several cases, when we are appointed for a case, the problem is that nobody knows what is wrong. Something is wrong. The other day, it's not very long ago, probably few months ago, we were appointed for a case, and then we got a brief that we found during course of search, we found hundreds of checkbooks and documents pertaining to export. Now we think that something is wrong. This was the brief that was given to us, that we think something is wrong in this case, and there has to be an investigation done. There is something wrong, but what sections to be invoked, what is the wrong that has happened, except for few checkbooks and few documents, we really don't have anything. So that was their brief. How do we make sense of those documents? Even while looking at the documents, I had a feeling that this may be a classic case of trade-based money laundering, and we have to, that is how we started. So the challenges are in different cases. We really don't know how to start, or we really do. Sometimes we even don't know. So this gray area in the scope is one of the biggest challenge that we face. In most of the cases, the clients, they come with a statement that something is wrong, a fraud has happened, but how, what, when, they don't know anything about that. So it becomes very challenging even to begin the investigation, to draft a scope document, to draft an engagement letter. But then we do manage. We do manage.
Okay. I think that's a common experience, I think, for all forensic professionals, especially if clients are not clear on what they want. But what are some insights that you've seen over common mistakes in conducting forensic investigations based on your experience? I'm sure there are a lot of learnings, I should say, instead of mistakes, perhaps learnings in conducting forensic investigation.
But the most important point is to preserve the evidences. It is, I would not say that deliberately the evidences are contaminated, but then because of lack of knowledge, the evidences are contaminated. People don't know. That is why the evidence, and this is more severe in case of digital evidences. Not even nowadays. If I talk about my generation, 10 years since I'm doing exclusively this. So since 10 years, it's all computers, computers, computers. These days, even the hard copies, good old days when we had at least the hard copies to rely upon. Now the hard copy, the concept of hard copy is altogether eliminated. The digital evidences, discovery of digital evidences, collection or gathering of evidences by digital media is very crucial, and we see a lot of loss of evidence and contamination of evidence when we go to the digital area. Couple of more mistakes which I have noticed professionals, particularly, accounting professionals. If we talk about the Indian scenario, chartered accountants, we have a focus or a concept that if taxes are paid, the money becomes legitimate. That is not the case. I would like to make it very clear to all your listeners and professionals who are particularly from the accounting background that paying tax on a money does not make that money legitimate, or as it is called as white money in our country. The concept of black money and white money, though it's not very global, but in India we
Correct.
have this black money and white money. So just simply by paying the tax, the money doesn't become legitimate. It is the predicate offense which legitimizes or illegitimizes the money. So if your listeners, they come across a situation where the predicate offense, where the money has come from source of corruption, but taxes are being paid on that money by bringing it into mainstream, and that will not legitimize the money. So this is one of the most common mistake that I have seen accountants making. If you say that simply because if it is coming, there is a firm, if the firm is having withholding tax or tax deducted at source, as we call in our country, and if they are paying the tax returns, they consider it as legitimate income, but that is not the case. This should be kept in mind.
No, that's a very critical point. I agree. I think I have seen similar cases where just because tax is paid, they assume since the government is not losing money, where's the question of fraud? But like you said, it's the predicate offense which is critical. I think, talking about accountants, I know you were part of the expert group on developing the forensic accounting and investigation standards issued by the ICAI. How have these standards been received by the community of forensic professionals?
Vidya, this was a very bold step by ICAI to introduce a full set of standards, because we don't have a detailed document in place. And then the standards, there was a lot of heartburn between the client and the professional while conducting the investigation, and it was more with the law enforcement agency. When the matter was litigated and it went to the courts, then there was more problems which I have faced, at least in my career. We had difficult questions asked by the prosecution or by the law enforcement agency as to why did you not investigate this facet? Why have you investigated only this facet? Why did you check this? Why did you not check this? There are certain questions like this. Now, with the forensic standards, it tries to standardize investigation as to what should be asked first. What is the bare minimum expectation that both the client and the professional are supposed to, perform their duties? That is defined in these standards. So in a way, these standards are like a fallback for people like you and me who are into this profession. So just in case if we are put through some lens as to why did you do this or why did you not do this, so that way we have something to fall back upon, that this is a guideline and this is a standard which has been issued based on which we have conducted our investigation. So we didn't had anything, we didn't had any document like this till the time the standards were issued. So for small firms, for practitioners who are new to the area, for them, this became like a boon. They knew how to do it. They knew what to do it. So the standards are received very well. And, considering like we just discussed about my book. So considering the response to the book, my publisher says that the book is being received very well. So I presume that people are willing to learn, people are willing to accept. So I would say that the eventually, I would not say right now because it's been very soon that the standards have been introduced. It's hardly been over a year. Eventually, the standards will be a go-to document in any investigation. And from where I look, I see it to be accepted and adopted by large number of bodies.
Correct, correct. And I know your book, just for our listeners, is called Forensic Foresight, Case-Based Perspective on Forensic Accounting Standards, published by Taxmans. I know the book covers a lot of aspects on becoming a forensic investigation specialist, but what are some of the most common fraud schemes in India that you've noted during your professional career? I'm sure the book also has cases, but will be helpful if you summarize a few common fraud schemes in India.
Yeah, I would. I would. So, see, the most common frauds, if we say, we'll bifurcate into two parts. The question that you have asked, if we talk about the most common frauds, the most common frauds are cyber frauds that we see, the investment scheme and the parcel schemes. These are the most common frauds. But then that is something which is beyond our scope. We don't investigate those. Now, if we talk about the most common type of offenses that at least I have come across, they are mostly into business disputes. So something like as simple as where one partner is defrauding or one partner is not getting his legitimate business interest, or something like where one of the party, one of the employer, one of the director, he has devised a complex method of removal of money from business using multiple layers and multiple entities, and these entities are so well created that they blend in legitimately in the ecosystem. These types of fraud are very common, where it starts with little bit of discomfort amongst partners, amongst parties, and then they escalate and they become huge and they take ugly turn. There are complaints, cross complaints, and litigations. So these types of frauds are most common that I have investigated, and I work mostly from law enforcement. So most of the referrals that I get, those are from law enforcement, either at the pre-litigation stage, that is pre-law enforcement, it's a kind of arbitration that they have, or if they are so insistent that we would like to file a case, then I am appointed by the law enforcement and then we investigate the case.
Moving on, I guess, in terms of key skills needed to become a forensic investigation specialist or accountant, what would you say are some of the key skills for our younger generation who are looking at forensic accounting as a future career prospect?
So, the moment we say forensic professional or forensic accountant, I understand we are speaking about the forensic accountant part. Accounting becomes the crux. So, I have mentored a lot of students who are learning in this domain. I'm part of few universities. So, I see students who have done their BSc. I mean, they come from the sciences background and then they are doing their masters in forensic accounting and fraud investigation. So, for them, I suggest that start with learning grade 12 accounting books. A core knowledge of accounting is the first and foremost criteria, because we call ourselves accountants. If we want to give a report on accounting disputes, then accounting is very important. Of course, keen eye to detail, out of the box thinking, listening skills, or rather people skills, I would say, not just listening skills, complete people skills, knowing about the psychology, knowing when to speak, knowing when not to speak. All these things are very important. So I would say a little bit of IT, little bit of psychology, a dash of law, legal knowledge, and a good amount of accounting. That will complete your recipe of becoming a forensic accountant.
Oh, that's a very nice way of putting it, like a recipe for becoming a forensic accountant. I think that's a very nice one. I think looking ahead, are you seeing the impact of use of AI? Because I think everyone's talking about artificial intelligence these days and machine learning. What is the impact of AI and machine learning in forensic accounting investigation?
AI is going to hit us like a storm if we are not prepared. So it influences our work to a very large extent. So in fact, I would not, when I say good old days, my old days are not even as old as a decade. So when I say we had 4 people, 5 people simply to punch in the bank statements and to make sense of the bank statements, because we work mostly into dispute. So we had our most reliable source of documents are bank statements. That is where we start. So we had a whole team of people simply for punching bank statements, simply for checking bank statements. Now that entire landscape has changed. We are relying on ML models. We are relying on tools, tech tools, which are helping us to do pattern recognition, anomaly detection, rapid alerts. Probably they help us to prioritize the cases as well. Because if you have to sift through 100 pages of bank statement, you really don't know which narration is important. So the moment we apply a ML tool, it recognizes similar type of transactions and it puts it into one bucket. Now that helps me to plan my investigation and divert my attention to where it is needed the most. So AI and ML are already they are changing the rules of the game. And Vidya, with your podcast, I would like to request everyone who's listening that love it or hate it, AI is going to stay. So we have to learn to adopt it. It is like not using a calculator when you have something in front of you and you're still using your paper and pen and calculating. Use the calculator, use AI. You will not become redundant. This skill and contextual knowledge will never be learned by the system. It is you who will be doing. So AI has to be learned, and we see a significant shift in the AI and ML area.
Correct. I think, I mean, we see a lot of our clients also adopting AI given the tremendous benefits, especially, crunching large sets of data, analyzing data, so data
Correct.
analytics becomes very
Correct.
important and much easier. So the investigating team can then focus on the trail and other aspects of the investigation. Right. You're absolutely right.
The concept of sampling has gone. With this AI and ML, sampling itself had become redundant. Now entire population is being checked, and we are at very good place where we can probably in an hour's time you can check millions of transactions.
Correct, correct. Exactly. I mean, like you said, you don't need to sample because if you can check the entire population and find a pattern and give a comprehensive report,
Yes.
to
Yes.
your clients, that's far better than just sample and extrapolate. But I think I'm sure given with the use of AI and also even otherwise, there are certain ethical considerations for professionals in forensic accounting. Can you share some light on ethical considerations in forensic investigations?
So, ethics, how do I say? Ethics are the cornerstone and bedrock of any profession, leave alone forensic accounting. Now, the
Yeah.
ethics become altogether more important in case of forensic accounting and fraud investigation, if we say, and forensic investigation, is because the outcome of our report will determine whether someone will be criminally prosecuted or not. So there is a huge sense of onus. That is, somebody's jail will be determined, or our report will be influenced at the best. If not determined, it will be influential in determining whether somebody will be staying in jail or somebody will stay outside. So ethical considerations are very important. One has to be ethical. I long had a mentor who told me that in case of forensic investigation, Durgesh, always be a mentor, don't become a player. So greed is always there. You may have 100 reasons. You may have 100 reasons not to do the straight thing, but you have to focus. You have to focus on the future. We have to remember what is the responsibility that is casted upon us, and we are in a way responsible for somebody's life. Ethics is the bedrock, and though it is difficult, at many times it becomes little bit difficult, but we have to keep that constantly hammering in the mind. So ethics are very important.
Yes, absolutely. I think without ethics, I think the profession itself does not have a future. And any concluding thoughts, comments on the future of forensic accounting? You've had more than 25 years and 200 plus cases. What do you see in the future for forensic accounting in India?
When we say the future of forensic accounting and forensic investigation is bright. As we are seeing that if we talk about the Indian context, we see that compliance based practice is dwindling. They are reducing less and less. Forensic accounting is dependent on the human feeling of greed. Till the time humans are there, till the time greed is there, there will be unfair treatment, there will be a race for being one up, and this not every time will be done in a fair manner. So this practice is going to stay and it has a bright future. Though it is, it doesn't sounds very well when we say that our business is out of people's misery, but then that is how it is. That is probably how doctors survive. They survive because people get sick. So we survive because people will fight. They will not be fair. They will be greedy. They'll not do the right thing which they are supposed to do. But I see a huge future for forensic accounting. Still see this developing globally, and in India it is just the tip of the iceberg. We'll be needing huge number of professionals for this. That is my take.
Excellent. No, I think your take is very valid given your extensive expertise in conducting investigations. And 200 plus cases is a significant milestone. So, thank you so much, Durgesh, for sharing your insights and time with us. And we look forward to continuing our interactions.
Thank you Vidya, thank you for inviting me, and thank you for having me over.
We conclude this podcast and thank Dr. Pandey for sharing his insights and time with us. We hope that you find this podcast meaningful and interesting as always. See you next month.